निवेशकों और भागीदारों को खोजने के लिए यह एक आदर्श स्थान होगा। और इसी कड़ी में हमारे दूसरे सत्र का शुभारंभ करते हुए मैं वर्चुअली हमारे साथ भागीदारों को खोजने के लिए यह एक आदर्श स्थान होगा। और इसी कड़ी में हमारे दूसरे सत्र का शुभारंभ करते हुए मैं वर्चुअली हमारे साथ जुड़ेंगे हमारे पहले विशेष अतिथि मनु श्रीवास्तव जी। सर आप हमें सुन पा रहे हैं?
मैं तो सुन पा रहा हूँ, आपको आवाज़ ठीक आ रही है क्या?
जी।
थैंक यू।
हमारे मध्य उपस्थित हैं वर्चुअली श्री मनु श्रीवास्तव जी। आप वर्तमान में प्रिंसिपल सेक्रेटरी हैं मध्य प्रदेश गवर्नमेंट न्यू एंड रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी डिपार्टमेंट। Our distinguished guest has 30 years of work experience. He has worked for 15 years in energy sector, namely natural gas, electricity, and renewable energy. He has led path-breaking innovative projects in the field of solar energy. His 750 megawatt Riva project has proved to be an inflection point in the history of solar energy in India. It was the first project in the country to provide solar energy at rates lower than coal-based power. I consider it great honor to invite Shri Manu Srivastava ji virtually to speak on the topic opportunities in renewable energy sector. Sir, the stage is all yours. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Firstly, I must thank Singrauli and especially the district collector for inviting me to speak to all of you. I must add that I have had the privilege of having worked with Rajiv in the field of renewable energy. Have worked together, so he shares a lot passion and interest that I have in the sector. Firstly, I would just like to say that very often renewable energy is seen as a very noble goal, which it is. It is good for global warming. We see the impact of global warming all around us. It manifests itself not only in the hot summer that we see this time, but more in terms of the uncertainty in weather. We have seen extreme cold events. We have seen snow in those parts of America where there has never been snow. We have seen forest fires much more than earlier in Australia, in Turkey, in US. And even in India, we have seen that the monsoon is not what it used to be. Earlier, there were 3-4 months of monsoon. Now there are short bursts of very high rainfall. Like Bangalore and Assam had a few weeks back, 1,000% of the annual of the daily rainfall. So it manifests itself in extreme weather events. But the more important thing is that while renewable energy is perhaps a noble goal, but it is also an economically viable option now. Now, when you are going in for renewable energy, it is not that you are making an economic sacrifice. Now, renewable energy is actually cheaper than uh, coal-based conventional sources. We have had the privilege in Madhya Pradesh of setting up the first project in India, which brought down the prices of solar power below that of coal-based power. If I could suggest, if others there can mute their phones, perhaps because I can feel there's an echo in the voice. तो अगर बाकी लोग म्यूट कर लें तो मेरे ख्याल से शायद वो इको खत्म हो जाएगा. So what I was saying was that Madhya Pradesh has the privilege of setting up the first project in India which brought down the price of coal, solar power below that of coal. This is a project not too far off from Singrauli in Riva. When Government of India companies were giving a subsidy to achieve a tariff of rupees 4.5 per unit, in Riva we got a first year tariff of below 3 rupees and without any subsidy. And it is a matter of privilege that this project is supplying power to Delhi Metro, and 60% of the daytime power of Delhi Metro is from this project in Riva. So the learning really for perhaps Singrauli could be that there are so many power producers there, conventional power producers, who could set up solar projects in lands, overburdened land that they have at very low rate. This can be both using the funds that these companies have. For example, Coal India Limited, there is Reliance. So there are many power producers. There is NTPC. And all of these producers have interest in renewable energy now. So there are vacant areas, coal overburden areas and other areas that these companies have. These projects can be set up in two modes. If these companies want to invest their money, they can, because some of them, especially Coal India Limited, has resources that they want to deploy in renewable energy. But even otherwise, there are large number of developers who are very keen to invest in such projects. And the idea would be that they would invest and they would sell power to you. There is a lot of captive requirement of power that each one of these have. There is Coal India. For example, even running a conventional power plant needs energy. So that can come from solar, and it could also be sold to other consumers. So both the options are possible. That these companies can have their own investment, or they could invite private investment. As far as private investment is concerned, I can share that there are large number of investors and developers internationally who are very keen to set up solar projects. The reason is that once you set up a solar project and there is a reliable power purchase agreement. When I say reliable, it is important because the developer should be assured of returns from the investment for around 25 years or the period of the PPA. So the reliability of the customer, the payment security guarantee is extremely important. But if that is guaranteed, large number of investors and developers are very keen on solar projects. The reason being that in the case of solar, you have a lot of requirement of initial capital investment, but there is hardly any uncertainty later. If you maintain the project, which is not too difficult, if you clean the project, which is not too difficult, then you have a steady income source. So there are large number of investors who are keen on such projects. There are pension funds, there are sovereign funds, there are multilateral funds, which are keen on projects where there is very little uncertainty, and they can have a steady revenue stream. Such investors very often have funds deployed at zero rate of interest
at even negative rate of interest. So if there are projects that India or Indian companies can offer where the payment security is addressed, where the uncertainties are addressed, where they feel investors and developers feel that it is a safe investment, they can offer power at extremely low rates. So the trick or mm, the game really is how to set up projects where the risk or the uncertainty is addressed. This is what we had done in Riva, which enabled us to get low rates. How it can be done is subject matter of a longer discussion, but broadly speaking, there are just a few points. I would not take more than a minute or two talking about that because today's format does not allow for more time than that. Basically, you have to prepare the project well, let know the developer that where is the land, how much land is available, uh, the evacuation situation, who would be the procurer, how would the procurer pay. The other is that the contractual terms have to be very clear, very clearly defined. And then the contractual terms have to be such that the investor risk is sufficiently mitigated. So these are broadly the things that need to be done. There is one more aspect that I like to talk about is that if these companies want to invest their own funds, there could also be a mix of both these models in which our companies invest 26%. Then that would be called a captive power project and they purchase all the power or at least 51%. In this model, 26% has to come from the company, 74% can come from the developers who would invest the 76%, 74% money, who would operate, maintain everything about the project. This could be another model. And in this, in case there is wheeling of power, etc., then the cross subsidy surcharge and additional surcharge are not applicable in the captive model. Another project that is possible is a rooftop solar project. Any organization would have a lot of rooftop capacity. So you can set up rooftop. Rooftop again can be done in both the modes. You can put your own money or you can have the developer mode where makes all the investment, operates the project and supplies power to you. I seem to prefer the developer mode. The reason being that very often it is not possible for public sector companies to maintain projects very well. But if you think that is not a challenge, you can do both. So the developer mode has the advantage that you have to make zero investment and you're making savings from day one and you're not bothered about the regular O&M, the cleaning, etc. But if you feel that the O&M, cleaning and initial investment is not a challenge, then that is also a wonderful option that you can invest your resources and set up a rooftop project. In rooftop project, again, the power has to be procured by you. The rooftop is allowed, if you want net metering, it is allowed only till a smaller capacity of around 500 kilowatt. But if you are using it entirely internally, that is, there is no export ever and use it entirely internally, then a large number of companies have gone in for much bigger projects. The guidelines are actually silent about it, but I know companies who have set up 3, 4, 5 megawatt projects, rooftop projects, where they consume all the power internally, and there is no export ever. The guidelines don't disallow it. I think I would have these initial thoughts. If there anything that any one of you is interested, then I'd be more than happy to discuss further. Your collector, Mr. Rajiv Rajan Meena, is anyway, he's expert in renewable energy, who's presently a field posting. But I'm also available all the time. But I would like to summarize by saying that by investing in renewable energy, you tick both the boxes. The first is you're doing something that's environmentally good. And the second is that you are doing something that is economically beneficial to you. We are at now a confluence where renewable energy addresses both economic viability and environmental considerations. हम उस मुकाम पे हैं जहां पे हम environmental और economic दोनों boxes को टिक कर रहे हैं, दोनों considerations को meet कर रहे हैं. So हम लोग अभी एक ऐसी जगह पे हैं जहां पे दो चीजें हैं, एक अपनी पॉकेट और एक अपना हार्ट. वी आर टिकिंग बोथ ऑफ देम. वी आर टिकिंग द बॉक्स ऑफ अवर पॉकेट एंड द बॉक्स ऑफ अवर हार्ट. And they can't be beautiful, more better. There are a lot of areas in climate change which are still not economically viable. For example, carbon capture. It is good for the climate, but it is not economically viable still. The same is true for green hydrogen. It is not economically viable still. The same is true of battery storage. Extremely good, but still not completely economically viable. It is possible that 2-3 years down the line or lesser, battery storage and green hydrogen also cross the limit of economic viability. But at least renewable energy, solar energy, as we speak, is economically viable today. So it is an economically prudent decision to go in for renewable energy, whatever be the nature of project that is possible for you. A ground mounted big project, it could be a project on open access. If your project is located and you want to wheel the power through the grid system, or a rooftop project, with the nature of the project. It could even be a project in your residence. So whatever be the nature of the project, you are doing something for the good of the environment and you are saving money. I would wish and hope that the summit today is extremely useful, and the initiative taken by the district admin helps you to think along these lines and move ahead in these lines. If there is any role that I personally or government of Madhya Pradesh can play in facilitating such projects, I would be personally very happy, and I'm sure the government of Madhya Pradesh would also be very happy. These are commitments that Indian government, that our Honorable Prime Minister have made in COP26. But it is not the individual responsibility of the Honorable Prime Minister or the government of India. These initiatives, these responsibilities are responsibilities that are shared by all of us. All of us, whatever organization we are a part of, whatever we are doing in our personal capacity, I think it's our joint responsibility to fulfill those commitments. Those commitments are not only of the Honorable Prime Minister, those are commitments on behalf of India. And as an Indian, I think it's our responsibility to fulfill them. I'm wishing you the best for today's summit and for beautiful, sustainable, continued development and growth of Singrauli. Thanks.
Thank you for connecting to us virtually and sharing your valuable inputs. हमारे